Why should the black man in America concern himself, since we've been away from the African continent for 400 years, 300 or 400 years? Why should we concern ourselves? What impact does what happened to them have upon us? Number one, first you have to realize that up until 1959, Africa was dominated by the colonial powers, and by the colonial powers of Europe having complete control over Africa, they projected the image of Africa negatively. They projected Africa always in a negative light. Jungles, savages, cannibals, nothing civilized. And naturally, it was so negative until it was negative to you and me. And you and I began to hate it. We didn't want anybody to tell us anything about Africa, and much less call us an African. And in hating Africa and hating the African, we ended up even hating ourselves without even realizing it. Because you can't hate the roots of a tree and not hate the tree. You can't hate your origin and not end up hating yourself. You can't hate Africa and not hate yourself. And you show me one of these people over here who have been thoroughly brainwashed, who has a negative attitude toward Africa, and I'll show you one that has a negative attitude toward himself. You can't have a negative attitude toward yourself, a positive attitude toward yourself, and a negative attitude toward Africa at the same time. To the same degree that your attitude, that your understanding of an attitude toward Africa becomes positive, you'll find that your understanding of and your attitude toward yourself will also become positive. And this is what the white man knows. So they very skillfully made you and me hate our African identity, our African characteristics. And you know yourself that we have been a people who hated our African characteristics. We hated our hair. We hated the shape of our nose. We wanted one of those long, dog-like noses, you know. Yeah. We hated the color of our skin. Hated the blood of Africa that was in our veins. And in hating our features and our skin and our blood, why we had to end up hating ourselves. And we hated ourselves. Our color became to us a chain. We felt that it was holding us back. Our color became to us like a prison, which we felt was keeping us confined, not letting us go this way or that way. And we felt that all of these restrictions were based solely upon our color, and the psychological reaction to that would have to be that as long as we felt imprisoned or chained or trapped by black skin, black features, and black blood, that skin and those features and that blood that was holding us back automatically had to become hateful to us. And it became hateful to us. It made us feel inferior. It made us feel inadequate. It made us feel helpless. And when we fell victim to this feeling of inadequacy or inferiority or helplessness, we turned to somebody else to show us the way. We didn't have confidence in another black man to show us the way, or black people to show us the way. In those days, we didn't. We didn't think a black man could do anything but play some horn, you know, some sound, and make you happy with some songs. And in that way, in serious things, where our food, clothing, and shelter was concerned, and our education was concerned, we turned to the man. We never thought in terms of bringing these things into existence for ourselves. We never thought in terms of doing things for ourselves because we felt helpless. And what made us feel helpless was our hatred for ourselves.
I want to do a video about gardening and what kind of got me into gardening in the first place. And one of the things I was really thinking about lately was, with all the protests and all the things going on in the media, with the police killings and with the protests of the quarantine and all these things and all this rage against the system, I really wanted to kind of give my story in terms of how I started to deal with the system myself. When I was in college, I was like one of those like true revolutionaries. I was all about like, let's stick it to the man, let's defeat the system. I was like reading Malcolm X speeches and memorizing them, and Marcus Garvey and reading the Black Panthers and all those kinds of things. But then I got to a point where one day I realized that yes, the system is corrupt and the system is really trying to hurt you. But I realized more than anything that the system was really killing you more so through the food that they're giving you, through the pesticides, through the through the high fructose corn syrup, through the corporations that pass off with the preservatives and all these kinds of things. So I realized, like, I was being complicit in my own death. Hello, YouTube. I just want to have a disclaimer at the beginning of this video. I'm not a medical doctor, but I will say this. I don't take medicine anymore. I started turning to more natural kind of things to help me out in my whatever I got going on. So one of the plants that I stumbled upon a few years ago is a plant that is scientifically known as Plectranthus amboinicus. Now, this is what Plectranthus amboinicus looks like. Hello, YouTube. I'm here enjoying the nice, beautiful Florida weather. And right now I'm sitting next to the yams that I have growing here in the ground. Remember, guys, the revolution will never, ever be pesticides.
Land is the basis of all independence.